I was diagnosed with a complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I was told at the beginning of 30, with my story and with this background and with these wounds, I will never come back to a normal work life, and I will never come back to a normal relationship. And today I can say I cleared, healed from 85-90% of my anxiety and my social phobia and also my panic attacks. I would even say that anxiety and who I became is now my total superpower.
I got the feeling that this is gonna be my day. Let's go to the brave space.
Hey, this is Laila, and I'm giving you a big shout out for being here with me today. It's a huge honor for me that you decided to spend time with me, and moreover, I am so excited that you devote your time to learning, growing, and healing. I love it. And this is exactly what you're going to find here on my podcast, The Brave Space. We are going to have honest conversations about anxiety, fear, and trauma, and how to heal from it. Yes, there is healing available. You're not supposed to live with this. This is not what life wants from you. And I'm going to take your hand and help you how to do this. For the ones that are new to my podcast, my name is Laila Monterey. I am an Austrian-Egyptian woman living in Innsbruck, mother of a lovely 4-year-old. And I'm also the survivor of a complex post-traumatic stress syndrome, social phobia, and physical trauma. I know exactly how it feels to live with fear and trauma, to feel broken, wrong, and not understood in this world. But don't worry, healing is not only possible, it is your birthright. Each week, I will share my stories, my tools, and truths from my own healing journey. And I invite you to find your courage in your own. And we will also have great guest speakers coming up. Hey! So you're not alone. You got this, and I will have your back. You're on the way to your healing. Take a deep breath and welcome to the Brave Space. One can experience trauma on many different levels. Most of us have had traumatic experiences in their childhood or even before they were born in their mother's womb. But you can also have traumatic experiences like a difficult separation, the death of a beloved person, an accident. The loss of your job can be traumatic too. So, and even emotional, physical, or sexual violence. And let's be honest, living in today's society with wars going on all over the world and conflicts, climatic crisis, life itself can be very dreadful at times. I want you to know you're not alone, and we have tools for this. In this first episode, I want to share my own story with you. Why the way I overcame my trauma can help you immensely. I provide you with tools, I provide you with meditations, and you can also ask your questions to me. Just drop it in as a comment below. So what is my story? For a long time in my life, I had the feeling that something was awkward or wrong, but it took me some time to find out why. My early 20s were going really good. I had successes in my career and also my private life. But when I finally hit a wall at the end of my 20s, I had no other choice than face and have a look at my childhood. I felt a lot of shame. I felt a lot of guilt. I felt wrong, not understood. And it took me a while to find out why. So sharing my story is a brave step for me, but I think it will help you to have a look at your own story and to find your own wounds. And also you get the feeling that you're not alone with this. A lot of people have experienced traumatic events and have their wounds, and we can grow together. I was born in the 80s in Austria, in a very conservative town called Innsbruck. In the family of my mother, religion was a huge thing. Even my father He was Egyptian. So this created a kind of special atmosphere or world I was born into. And my mother at this time had already suffered severely from schizophrenia for many years, but this condition stayed totally uncovered and untreated. And my father, he's from Egypt. He had at the time he was fighting to stay in the country, so he was very absent, and they both had a very chaotic and difficult relationship. And so my mother also had two other children before, so I was the third child, and she was tremendously put under pressure from her older sister that I am a big mistake for being born into this chaotic world, and she wanted my mother to have an abortion. So all these things I experienced already in the womb of my mother, and I can say that even already these things had an impact on my life later on. Okay, because both of my parents were not capable of taking care of me, I grew up in foster homes from the age of 6 months until I was 17 and decided to drop out of this system. And as most of you might imagine, the time at the foster homes was not beautiful. It was actually very traumatic. Caretakers were not really caretaking. It was very authorical, and it was honestly very brutal. It was a time where I experienced many times physical violence, emotional violence, and also sexual violence. So when I was 17, I decided to get out of this, to walk away from this, to step into my own power. And I was always a good student, and I started to study international economics. And from that point on my career, it developed quite good. And I started also my passion making films in front of the camera and also behind. But in my late 20s, it happened that my trauma, or the effect of my trauma, hit me again in form of a violent partner in a love relationship. And this was the time I had no other choice than having a look on my wounds. So my story left deep imprints in my nervous system, in my brain, in my body. And as I said before, I was diagnosed with a complex post-traumatic stress syndrome. And I was told at the beginning of 30, with my story and with this background and with these wounds, I will never come back to a normal work life, and I will never come back to a normal relationship and personal life. And this was the moment where I decided I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to accept this. This is not how I want my life to look like. I have the right, it's my birthright to have a beautiful life. It's my birthright to have a beautiful career. It's my birthright to have a beautiful love relationship. And I took on my power and I started my journey. As most of you know, healing is not a linear process. You can make step forward and then you can make steps backwards again. So it's, especially in my case, I've had a strong defense mechanism that protected me and brought me through my childhood. It was kind of in my brain. I experienced the trauma, very heavy trauma, like someone severely hit me. And I just stood up and went to school and I performed there. So I had a very strong suppressing mechanism that pushed totally the bad things aside and totally focused on the good things. But in the aftermath, what happened is that these events were somehow captured in a part of my brain, and they were not accessible for me in a logical way, and they were not integrated into my whole biography and story. So they started to show up as flashbacks, panic attacks, general anxiety, social phobia. So I had to find tools how to heal these wounds, and it was actually a lot of trial and error. I started with classical therapy with a therapist where you go to a person you trust and then you tell your whole story. But in the first place, this totally did not work out for me. It was so bad for me to talk about all this stuff that I went backwards. It was not that kind of therapy that I needed. So what I did is I went to a doctor and I did the examination I did a lot of tests to find out what my problem or what my wounds is. And on the base of this analysis, he recommended me a special trauma therapy. And then I started to look for a therapist. At that time, there was only one person in my region that would provide this. And she did not even finish her education. So I had to wait, but I was very devoted to go on my healing journey. And what I did in the meantime, because when you have a trauma, time really matters. It matters how fast you get help and how fast you start to work on it. So what I did is I said to you that I have a background in film. So what I did is I wasn't able to go in front of the camera anymore. I wasn't able that anybody would touch me or get close to me. So I swapped to storytelling. I started writing and I just wrote. And this was very deliberate for me until I got the opportunity to work with a therapist. And this is one thing that I would highly recommend for you is first thing when something bad happens to you is immediately seek help. A lot of women, they react with guilt, shame, they blame themselves. It's a normal mechanism in ourselves that we somehow blame ourselves. When someone hits us, it's like it goes back to you. It's like, oh yes, somehow I said something bad that provoked him. But it's total bullshit. No one is supposed to hit you. Even if you throw him something bad in a verbal way, even if you say something bad to him, no one is allowed to hit you. So my first step was a classical therapy, trauma therapy. That it had a lot of tools like meditation, working with your inner child, and most of all, very important to create your own safety. It's like to regain the sense of safety. And this was something that I really worked a long time on for, and I needed more food and more tools to get to the place where I felt safe in my life again. It started with the trauma therapy, but then later on, this sort of therapy, it had limitations, and then I was seeking for other tools in hypnotherapy, EMDR, even to very spiritual tools that helped me. And today I can say I healed from 85-90% of my anxiety and my social phobia and also my panic attacks. And I accept it. And I can fully accept myself, which is the most important thing and milestone on your healing journey, is that you come to a point where you start accepting and loving yourself again. If you ask me today if I'm healed, then my answer would be I feel healed, but not in a way that you might think about healed. First, when I wanted to regain my health, I had this perfectionism in mind. Like, I want to get rid of all the panic attacks. I never want to feel anxiety again. This is like so bad. I don't want to feel this all the time in my life. And I was fighting it. And whatever you resist persists. So, not to say I'm living in fear all the time. Otherwise, I couldn't sit here like I do now. As I said, with my tools, I cleared 85-90% of fear, panic, whatever. I don't freak out when I have a panic attack again. So then I accept it as a part of me, and I embrace it, and I trust myself. I can handle this, and I also speak openly about it. You know what? The biggest or the most difficult part was to live with this by myself. And for 2 or 3 years, I am very open about sharing this part of mine, sharing with other people and especially mothers, because this is where I am at the moment, on the playground with mothers, telling them, you know what, I have panic attacks about this and that and this and that. And the reaction was not the one I expected. They were like, oh yeah, I have that all the time. So it's about accepting ourselves and being open and vulnerable, and kind of also not judging ourselves for having these human moments. Because to be honest, anxiety, fear, and panic, it has a very healthy function. It is here for a reason. And you just have this leftovers from something very bad that happened to you. So why blame this? Why fight this? So I feel more comfortable in my skin and in my personality than ever before. And I would even say that anxiety and who I became is now my total superpower, because especially as a mother, I feel like I'm such a better mother because I know all the things that could happen and I had a look at my childhood traumas, and I am aware of these things, and I try to protect my child from these things. So I see a different, and I don't want to say a better person at the end of this path, which is not the end, I am still on this path, but I see a bigger and more whole version of myself. And this is what I want to help you with. What you will find here on the Brave Space is I will share my journey and my story with you, and open up about all the tools that I tried and how they worked for me. I will recommend you the ones that I find really, really amazing. And so you get a very special shortcut from me. You don't have to do this all on your own. I will also be your accountability person. I show up with you here on the podcast. And if there's something important you want to talk about, if you have questions, drop it in the comment. I will try to come back to you. And I will also invite very, very interesting guests which share a lot of expertise. So you all have it together with some exciting meditations and tools and me holding your hand. So you got this. Welcome to the Brave Space.